Mr. Bond. I see you've come a long way, Mr. Bond. 300 times I've tried to stop you, and 300 times you have thwarted our efforts, Mr. Bond. But tonight, or today, depending on when you see this, things probably won't be different. After all, I admit, Mr. Bond, it's been 300 times. Come on. Why would it be number 300? Really doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Are my levels? I think my level's a little hot. I'm going to turn down just a little bit. Oh, James, you're too hot. Turn it down. There it is. I'm assuming I'm making noise. Is everything on? Yes. Hello, all. That was Easy Challenge by Martin Landstrom. Listening tonight on Dojo Earth Radio. Tonight is a very special occasion for me, your host, DJ Prometheus. Today is my 300th live stream. Now, some of you are going to be like, well, but yes, 2 days ago you did 2 live streams, and you counted those the same number, and that's true. And then if you go back about 4 months, we had a listener that was pretty upset that we skipped like 193 or something. Like it was like missing a number. Turned out that number meant a lot to him. And yeah. And then at one time we had to merge 3 shows into one. And because of the stream kept getting shut down, 6 streams have been removed for breaking some sort of universal code that opened like a portal into hell or whatever it was they said I did. That happened 6 times. 5 of them, I think, were like just like lost, either by me or by someone else. Probably about, guys, help me out here. I'm gonna say about 94 of them have like serious audio issues. It's my early work. It was if you remember, we had the computer fan as the backup orchestra here. And that guy played a lot. He would not shut up. And so we have those episodes. This is the underground iteration. Some of you are watching on the YouTube Dojo Earth channel, and you're listening to the underground operation. We were forced underground 2 weeks ago. And for those of you in Rockfin would not do that to us. We are not underground. We are simply here. And I appreciate that. I appreciate them, and I appreciate you. And, yeah. This, man, I was trying to find you something here. The 18 song, intro. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was going to do that to read that again. But no, I've blown it because I can't find it. I couldn't find it. It's taking too long to find it. I'm going to have to wait till I have another song. So yeah, 300, episode 300. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. We've already got some like amazing chats that came in. I'm blown away by the generosity and prana and China and kindness. I'm not blown away. Keep it going. But wow, this is some good stuff. It's man, a lot of Star Sorcerer, Dick B, Graham Greenwood. Thank you, Graham. You are always a stable rock for this show. Thank you. Thomas Gerald, probably Thomas Gerald. I'm going to think it's Gerald. James and the Giant Oak, thank you. Rose 777, look at that. Rose 777. Annie D came in. Michael Smith came in. Of course, the beautiful Ship Moth came in. And that's just on the Rockfin gang, right? And then over here we got all kinds of people over on YouTube saying hi and doing all their thing. And yeah, so we should probably get to the show, shouldn't we? And stop talking about how awesome it is that we got 300. Now, if some of you might be confused as to, well, wait a minute. Well, why don't I see anything? And this is a good time to give all the feedback you want, but I'm going to see what the radio thing does. I'm doing that because of the slam on the video stuff. The last one was child endangerment. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to prepare for the time where I'm just not going to be allowed on any video platform. And so I thought maybe I could convert into a radio platform simply because it might be easier to distribute the show. Maybe not, but maybe so. Sarcastic, thank you, sir. Of course, it wasn't showing me there. If you, either that just happened or I didn't see it earlier. Anyway, um, so that's kind of what we're trying right now. I'm not saying it's going to be this way. Not going to say it's always going to be between 9 and 11, but that's what I'm going to shoot for. I'm not even saying I'm not going to do my day shows because there's an important thing about the day shows. However, got to admit, it's kind of weird trying to stretch between those two times and days. Although it's kind of killing me because right now, Maird Moth had to set an alarm in Scotland to watch the show. And, man, that is a bummer. It makes me want to pull the whole show 4 hours earlier. But yeah, let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think. Guys, I'd like to talk about the definition of a dictator. Oh, he said dictator. It's, you initially think, well, dictator is someone who's like in charge and says whatever they want and everyone has to do it. But actually, dictation really means to say something that is to be written down. That's actually what the word means. And when we have the false definition of the word leader, or leash, leader, we think that the leader itself is actually the thing leading the dog. But it's not. The leader allows the dog to understand where it's going. Did you know that? Think about it. A leader doesn't push, a leader only pulls. I'll say that again. A leash, but they're both the same. A leash, you cannot push a dog with a leash, you can only pull it back. You can only stop it. And it's kind of showing you that there's really what the power of a dictator truly is. It's not really quite what you would think. Your first initial thing would be, well, a dictator would be someone that pushes, right? Like, you would think that if a dictator did anything, it would push. But you can't push. You can't push with a leash. You can't do it. You can't do it. Oh, thank you, John Birch. You fucking rock. No, you fucking rock, John Birch. No, you fucking rock. You can't push with that. And so I want you, we've been working on this, but to wrap this all around, you cannot think of a leader, a dictator, as someone in charge. You have to think about it as someone who is going to say something that's going to be written down. And we all know, especially after looking at the Trudeau, how much freedom you actually have. You guys, take me for example. Take me for example. Now, sometimes your friend DJ Prometheus over here says something that gets someone kind of mad. And they get mad and they hit report. And then that report goes into a machine. It's processed by the central incoming processor unit that says, oh, we will analyze your text. And they run a text-to-speech. And all the times where I try and say that vaccines are safe and effective, you, Gen X, these things are allowed to sit in the machine and be rendered. And there's really not a lot that either of us can do because we found out that what actually happens with the censorship doesn't always even make sense. What I mean is that the targeted words that you think they might target don't even actually necessarily always come up in the algorithm. And it's no different than appealing to the machine for healthcare. It's the exact same process. It's worthless. And that's because you're asking for a dictator to lead. A dictator cannot lead. A dictator can hold something back. That's about it. That's about it. So, knowing that this is the definition of the dictator, it really comes back to do you know what a committee of dictators would be? Because that would be a council of tater tots. Now, when we come back to the truth here that the dictator can't actually push, all it can do is pull, we kind of start to have to kind of unwind what all this means. Like, well, wait a minute, if that's the person not pushing, who actually is pushing? And I think this has actually been what our biggest issue has been, is figuring out that it's been us the whole time. And I think what makes that so hard is because it's so expensive to tell the truth. And it's so easy to cover it up, to not say it. And that we've built this beautiful plastic castle here where there's a dictator trying to get us. There's a dictator coming to get you. And if we don't get that, if we don't escape the dictator, there's going to be trouble. And you have all these things where it's a constant fear of dictator, but then every one of us has contributed in some way to that dictator succeeding. And I know that many of you haven't been consensually contributing, and I want you to know that I acknowledge that. And I would hope that you would acknowledge that in me, that there's certainly those times when we're not consensually contributing, but it turns out just the way the environment's set up that we're going to have to contribute sometimes. For example, a long time ago, a bunch of dictators said, hey, what if we made everybody buy car insurance in America? And all the taters said, let's try it. And no one went and beat their ass. No one did that. No one like after that passed. See, you could still pass laws like this. But then after that, it would be sort of the responsibility of the people that are following those laws to make the person that actually passed that law really, really, really expensive for it. And you might first sound, well, that's not fair at all. How in the world are we ever supposed to do that? And I'm here to tell you the reason why it's fair is because the politician would have to sacrifice his somatic well-being in exchange for everyone getting insurance. That would be his trade-off, that he would come to the Senate, he would climb to the pyramid, and he would say, oh, sacred priest, I believe it's so important that everyone have to buy insurance that I am willing for you to rip my heart out right now in my chest, hold it above my head with it beating, as I look at everyone and try and stay brave. And I will die knowing that I saved this country by making everyone buy car insurance. And I don't understand why that's a bad idea. Cops die for houseplants. Veterans die for heroin, for opium fields. So why couldn't a politician die to make sure everyone has car insurance? Can you think of a reason? What is it that separates those two things? And more importantly, why is it that we think that a dictator works that way? Right? Because it doesn't work that way, but we think it does. And maybe there's some kind of advantage to that. Maybe somehow that kind of helps us in some way, but we just don't want to necessarily admit that, right? It's a possibility. It's something to think about. It is. We got a few things to cover. We're going to be thinking about those things. Any of you want to skate, you're welcome to do it. It is open skate tonight as the show burns. And welcome aboard the airship. I'd like to thank you tonight. Thank you for trusting me with your airship needs.
Go and try your luck, test me in again, we let it rain. Please don't start us up, got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer, please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up, then that ass be poking out them jeans up and sparking up. Like the fireworks, I keep the flame, heard you barking up. This the wrong tree, I got the strings, yeah, charging up. They can't keep up, got them looking drained, now they walking up. Trying to put the face to the name. Pull swerving. If a nigga try to holler, she gon' curve him. We came from under rugs like a Persian. We been staying in our lane, ain't no merging. Wrap a nigga like a motherfucking turban. Yeah, these niggas all square like Irvin. Yeah, we grew up in the hood, no Suburbans. If I say I need my money, then it's urgent. Yeah, they want me to quit. Yeah, they want me to shift. But as long as I'm alive, we gon' keep on making hits. While they steady shooting bricks, man, it's lit. Yeah, it's lit. Me and Dale back to back, and yeah, I'm dishing the assist. Yeah, they talk a lot of shit, but we really with the shits. Lame ass niggas always gonna be reaching for they hit. Smoke a nigga like a clip. They can never catch me slipping. Every time your girl around, she be watch the way I'm dripping. Try your luck, test me in again, we let it ring. Please don't start us up. Got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer, please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up, then that ass be poking out them jeans. I've been sparking up like the fireworks. I keep the flame. Heard you barking up. This the wrong tree, I got the strings. Yeah, I'm charging up. They can't keep up, got them looking drained. Now they walking up, trying to put the face to the name. I'm in flex mode with the best, though. That's a major key, that's a chess move. I'm your favorite G, I think it's best, yo. Stop with all the grilling, I'm on jet fuel. Taking off, clear the runway, now they cannot clip my wings. Yeah, they soft, they ain't homie, they ain't even on the scene. Play it smart, they don't know me, they just know what they see. What it costs to get flea, but this style ain't free. This that swag, this that splash, one wrong move, that's your ass. Do the dash, keep a stash, just in case they tryna flash. Never lag, we don't slack, tell her eyes running back. I don't brag, I'm relaxed, I'm not into all of that, yeah. It's really just the fam and my dogs. I just gotta make a call. I ain't into all that chatting, not at all. Yeah, I put that on the squad. We been out here going hard. We on deck, please don't make 'em. Go and try your luck, test me in again, we let it ring. Please don't start us up. Got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer, please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up, then that ass be poking out them jeans. I've been sparking up like the fireworks. I keep the flame. Heard you barking up. This the wrong tree, I got the strings. Yeah, I'm charging up. They can't keep up, got them looking drained. Now they walking up, trying to put the face to the name.
God save the Queen. God save the Queen. It was the birth of the hive with God save the Queen. That phrase is still ringing in our ears, and it goes back to this idea of a dictator, a queen-tator. And the whole time we're like, oh my God, she's so rich. Let's give her money. Oh God. I'm so mad at her. We should throw money at her. Hit her with gold. That'll fix it. We should throw more gold at her. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we should do. Because she's a dictator. She's so awful. Quick, throw more gold at her. Here she comes. Here she comes. Here she comes. And you saw that today too. You saw that today too. All over Twitter. People making it expensive for James to call out apathy and cowardice. People making it expensive. Trolling me for putting it to him. It'd be great if people I don't mind it, by the way. I think it's part of the cost of being true is that you're going to have to go out and really be a nasty delivery sometimes. And the truck protest is no different. I've been through this ringer. And by the way, I'm wrong all the time. But what I've seen, and you've heard me talk about it, but what I've seen is that a lot of the reservation you see about even thumb-upping a trucker post is covered in this idea that, well, they might hurt us. And that idea shows you the entire engine of how prana works. It shows you how you work, by the way. It shows you how I work. It shows you how everyone works. And so even if you catch, let's say, a man, bear, pig doing it, it doesn't excuse that it's happening to you. But because a man, bear, pig was doing it, you can kind of use that to help you not do it again by making it expensive for yourself. Right? And you guys naturally do this, but the person that raises the biggest antenna to collect the biggest prana resonance from the universe is going to be the person that makes it expensive for himself. What I'm talking about is when you're catching yourself in these algorithms that you run. So when you were on the jungle floor, call it the battlefield, and you were in a frozen position, your stationary position feels safe, and it is in many ways. Why? Because you are actually immune to anyone else's radar or sonar. I'm talking about their pineal sonar that the animal world is perceiving you, but it's only going to perceive your perturbation. And I'm not trying to sound fancy, but it's only going to hear you when you are moving. Prey will only hear you when you're moving. And when I say hear, I mean see. I mean smell. I mean sense. And so stillness is the main defense of the deer. Stillness is the main defense of the cheetah. Yeah, I know it runs, so it's a bad analogy, but when it's about to pounce, maybe not a cheetah, you've never seen a cheetah do that, but of a cat. That stillness is huge, right? For one, when you were in stillness, you were creating a bubble of invisibility. You're blowing up your cheeks with air, and you're going wing, and you're invisible now. And you're invisible by you're not moving at all. You're not moving at all. You're not even moving your eyes from side to side. Right? So like, everyone try it, just like stop. And when you do, the first thing you do is that everything freezes, of course, but your eyes freeze too. And then your eyes move before everything else does. That's because your ancestors had a lot of practice at learning how not to slosh their eyes around. What I'm trying to tell you is that the stillness, how important it is that you make no sound when you move your eyes is crucial. It's a crucial skill that your ancestors gave you. Right? And it calls that library when you're born, the library of don't slash your eyeballs, don't slosh your eyeballs. That library is called, and you have that. You're tapping into that wisdom. You've installed it in your library. This stillness has gotten you far. And you've also learned that the stillness only works when you're not seen. That when predator sees you, it zones in and it pings you. And you feel that consciously. You actually feel that. When someone's looking at you, you can feel it. And if you can't, it's because either there's too much aluminum on your underarms, or you've maybe masked your own scent in another smell. That when you're doing those things, you're closing your eyes and you're not really able to see as clearly. To see the sea. To feel the witness on your back is from the perturbations. Believe it or not, your pineal is picking up the perturbations from their pineal. Right? That when their pineal is a record needle, that crystal ship is perturbating, it's shivering, it's quivering. Yeah, it's quivering. It's quivering. And what's making it quiver is your life force. The sub-millimeter inches that your chest expands when you breathe sends out this waveform through the ether. It's an echo, just like a sound wave. And inside the skull of predator, his pineal gland feels that. It's this shimmering thing that comes in. And he's able to navigate, track your vector, but more importantly, he knows that you're alive. And what it takes is the direct witness between both of you. Prey knows that it should never look directly at predator. Prey knows that by looking at predator, predator has a text message. That there's a message from an unknown sender there. And if predator was listening to that, he would be able to tap into that. And so when predator looks at prey and prey senses, when prey feels that sonar ping, bling, that hits it, it knows it's screwed. It knows it's been seen by predator. And it knows that because the two pineal glands pinged each other. And the moment they pinged each other, the moment a strand of empathy developed between them two. And I'm talking about like dojo empathy, where you are compassionating your opponent on the mat. And that cat, that killer cat, we'll call it a lion, is now pinging that antelope, and that antelope feels it. And because it felt it, it really was what it was really doing was confirming to the lion, unfortunately, confirming to the lion that I know you're there. Possum will feign death, and that's so much more than being still. That the shutdown in their system actually stops that ping signal. That's why they have to shut down so much of their radar. And when that possum is playing dead, it is fucking dead. Okay, I'm not telling you it's clinically dead, but I'm saying it's a hibernative kind of a shock, and it's not consciously able to answer the pings from predator. A ping like on a submarine, but even on a computer. That right now your computer and my computer are pinging each other. It's like, hey, I got an audio stream. Is you there? It's like, yeah, I got it there. It's like, okay, cool. This witness consciousness works the same way. To be still is like your base defense. It's your go-to immunity. It's level 1. Can I just be still and not get caught? And this happens with kids. Right? Kids sneaking through the kitchen. Right? And then what does he do? He freezes. He's trying to become invisible. You actually can become invisible, but what gives him away is the noticing of witness. If you could find some way of shutting off your notification of witness, I think that you would be invisible. I think that you could enter into a state where you would be invisible. But you'd have to be able to do that. You'd have to find a way to be witness immune. You could shut your system down, like a possum maybe. You know, I don't know, maybe Winhoff can do this. Who knows? It's hard to say, right? But this stillness, this defense, I got respect for it. It got us here. It's been here a long time. And frankly, the fact that you're alive is kind of proof it works. It's proof of all of it working. And that's been the defense around the hive itself. God save the queen. If you can picture this, we've talked about this before, how there's this me, and outside of the me is the I, right? And we've said that the me is the raccoon that's eating corn from the dirty diaper, and the I is the realization that I am a raccoon eating corn from the dirty diaper, and that those two things are bubbles of each other, And man, bear, pig would sort of be the raccoon. And the sovereign man, let's say, would be that I. So it's the same sort of, you get it, it's the same. But there's actually more to this model. And the reason why there's more to this model actually relates to the queen. Because outside of the I, there's actually other space. There's other places to go outside the I. And if you could picture this, you might want to picture like the maybe like a tree of life set up here. And the Sephiroth of me is the center. And inside that Sephiroth of me, but stepped higher, is the I. So you've sort of got like a gear shift coming out of your root now, where you've got me, and then right above it you have an I. And then if you were moved to the north, straight ahead, from the I, you would find the place of thee, Thee. And that from the place of thee you would do things that that would be for thee. This is will that's directed from outside of the Sephiroth, of you. So there's the me, and there's the I, and now we've just discovered this other chamber called the thee, Thee. Now if you come back from the thee into the I, and go to the south, I'd like you to picture there's another chamber that looks just like the thee, but it's the we, the W-E. And being in the south, it's actually mirroring the me because it's the we. And in the south position, we is the opposite of thee because you were motivated not from will outside yourself, but from will that is outside yourself but includes you too. Will of your brethrenship. We is different than thee. I do this for we, or I do this for thee. Do you understand? So we have the north and the south, Sephiroths. In the center is I. At the base of the tree is me. And I just need us to add just 2 more rooms. Just 2 more. So from the me, the root, let's rise up from our raccoon into the I. And instead of going to the north or to the south, let's go to the west. And we will find the Sephiroth of all. This looks just like thee or we, but it is the Sephiroth of all. And now that we've beholded this beautiful, wonderful Sephiroth of all, let's come back to the I, and let's go to the east. And I want you to see that this Sephiroth is none. It's no one. And so now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Sephiroths, assemblage points, gears that you could live inside of. You understand? These are transmissions. And you begin in the me. And if you want to rise above the me, and I mean that, if you want to, then you move to the I. And within the I, you are going to find different torque and different motivations by appealing to these 4 directions that I just described. The all and the none, and the thee and the we. Now I don't care what your configuration is. If one's north and one's west and one's east, I didn't mean to put those in any kind of direction. But if you can picture that, you're going to be able to store in your crystal palace a compassion folder. So like in your computer, you have a regular folder, you can put files in there. But what if there was this other kind of folder, and this other folder just had more than just a place to store files? It actually had a place that you could store assemblage point vectors. So what I mean by that is when you are compassionating someone, it's already a use of prana to move your compassion, your plasma out of you and into the person that's across from you and compassionate them. That already takes some skill, and good for you. And if you, because you're already over there, you're reaching your hand behind the refrigerator and you're trying to reach that screwdriver. You don't even really know it's there. It's just, it's far, it's in the dark. Because you're having to compassionate this far away, you're going to find this model really, really helpful. And the reason why is because you're going to notice different compassionary behavior depending on the gear that you see your opponent in. And when I say opponent, I'm talking about the dojo opponent, which is basically the one who brings us vitriol on the mat. And many, many times that's yourself. Most of the time it is. And so the struggles, the anger, the frustrations that you feel in reference to other people's dynamic, those are the perfect opponents. And when you feel someone is an opponent, you automatically are challenged to find compassion. Not consent, but compassion. And if you look to this gear that they are in, it makes the whole thing easier. That you can easily study your opponent from these 6 different vectors. And when you understand that, you see where their posture is right now. Is it a posture of we-ness? Is it a posture of thee-ness? Is it a posture of all? Is it a posture of none? Is it a posture of me? Or is it a posture of I? You have more compassion for Man Bear Pig if you understand this is a raccoon eating corn out of a diaper. You would even find that cute, and the reason why you would find that cute is because you would not trust that raccoon in quite the same way as you would your neighbor. And because you did not trust that raccoon as much, that raccoon actually would become less dangerous to you. And as that raccoon is less dangerous to you, it ceases to be an opponent. See, rule 1, and this ties back to Save the Queen, rule 1 is that your opponent disappears when it's no longer a threat. Your opponent disappears the moment it's no longer a threat. And it's true. When the hyena is able to go up to the aging lion and just start nipping at it, the moment that happens, that is the hyena confirming that you are no longer a threat. And that's the last of it. Your immunity is gone at that point. And I think what happens with the psychology of all this is that we, you and me, Man Bear Pig, believes that if we can eliminate our threat, we will become invisible to predator. I think that's pretty much what's driving most of it. That idea. And that's why you see the reactions. Or that's why I see the reactions that I get. And the people that I've made this expensive for, there's just people just, posting like, this trucker convoy is a bad idea, for example. And I'm not even saying it's not a bad idea. But what I smell and what I see is this is that stillness. And it's the only way that you could be still in this way is to convince everyone that it wasn't a threat. that if you could say that with enough confidence where people thumbed up it, you would then have the confirmation to say, no, that's just a cardboard cutout of a lion. That's all. It's a paper tiger. It's not the real thing. And that makes you feel more invisible. And that would be necessary for your survival. And so what I see happening nationwide with the trucker thing is that very thing. And this is where God Save the Queen comes in, because this is what made the Queen. This is what invented the Queen. The Queen did not exist before this was happening. Before this was happening, there was no energy that we were squirting away from us, very cleverly trying to take this energy and teleport it as far away from us as we could. Because we can't be caught owning that. We can't be caught owning the ability to take action. And so we use things like, well, it's an unlawful protest. You guys know that that's a logical fallacy, right? And that 10 years ago, those two words would not have even been a thing. Okay, maybe 15 years ago. Those two words would not have ever worked together. Never. That's part of this continued push. Like I said, the corona, it is searing. It is burning in the desert. And it makes you want to be stiller. It makes you want to freeze and go, don't see me, son. Don't see me. Don't see me. Don't see me. Don't see me. And so you're shedding your identity. You're shedding your ability to run. You're shedding your ability to attack. You're shedding your ability to make it expensive. That's the biggie. That's the biggie. You hear the calls of, well, until we're willing, until someone has shedded blood. And I'm here to tell you that it is true that until someone has shed blood, this will not happen. That is absolutely true. But the mechanics are not that there needs to be bloodshed. That's not true. The mechanics simply require that people have slowly realized, this is going to require some blood to be shed. That once that's the realization, because that dilates the aperture to where it is. It's not actually the blood shedding. It is the witness, the searing power of that witness being broadcast into the parliament, into the police that are in the city, and a reflection of, we're going to back down. And apparently that's what Trudeau's saying he's going to do. And I'm not saying, look, Trudeau has been defeated. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that the perturbation of thousands of horns is definitely a factor. It's a factor in everything, because it's showing numbers, but it's doing something even more important that I realized today. It's even more important than numbers. And the people that are trying to be invisible, because they're trying to turn their witness cannons off, they're not able to remember that in 2012 in Europe, people started to use this word or this phrase, the Great Awakening. And it was a long time ago, like in England. It was Thomas Sheridan that was saying that. It was like 2012. That people were saying the Great Awakening, as if it was commonplace. When I became involved, that phrase just fit perfectly. It fit perfectly with what was happening, and I adopted it right away. And then when the QAnon stuff was coming out, I followed the fashion trends of everyone else, quite subconsciously for what it's worth. I don't remember actually purposely doing this. I just noticed I haven't said that word a lot. But because of the QAnon stuff, I stopped using that. But I also always knew that the Great Awakening was more something like a golden dawn, like a new, like a new morning. And so to me, the Great Awakening was actually sort of like below, and I mean below in an honorary way, but below QAnon. It was the roots of that. And that on top of it, people were trying to stick their barnacles, and those barnacles would be called QAnon, and those barnacles would be called all the other psyops that you've ever seen, that have ever made, that have ever been seen, have been trying to stick to these giant tentacles of this monstrously large beast from Sheol rising out of the water. And that as it comes up, we're saying the psyop is planned, the psyop is planned. But the truth of the matter is that this large creature, this Leviathan, is rising out of the ocean, and people that see it are climbing on its back and claiming to be its rider, claiming to be the owner of this steed. And that's been happening since 2012. And we're saying that we can't participate or thumbs up or share or go to or join in the truckers because it will unleash more hell upon us is the best argument that they can make on Twitter. And the reason why is because they are the evil ones planned the psyop of the truckers, which means that it would be a trap and we would fall into their hands, is another form of I can't move. If I move, Predator will see me. But Predator saw you 15 minutes ago. Remember when he took 2 steps? Remember? He just stopped. He's seen you the whole time. He's been staring at you the whole time. But because it took 15 minutes, you think you're safe by not moving. And now you're petrified and you're frozen. So, rattlesnake, right? The tail of a rattlesnake rattling. But it's silent. And if you can take yourself back to the Great Awakening, if you can look at this Great Awakening as this organic, orchestral, syncretic, natural event that's larger than you. Cthulhu is larger than you. And of course that's terrifying. It's fucking Cthulhu. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? And that's the greatest gift you ever saw. Looking right at you. And he's bigger than the sun. He's taller than the mountains. His shoulders stretch from horizon to horizon. Of course that's going to scare the shit out of you. Of course it is. That's why they call it the Great Awakening. They didn't call it the half-ass snooze button. They didn't call it the Great Snoozening, did they? This Great Awakening would be tied to the sun, be tied to the corona. And a lion, the predator who's fully engaged, would just be completely honest with you the whole time. Just the whole time. He'd be like doing, dude, here's what's going on. And he wouldn't consider any calories in making sure that you understood him. And he wouldn't spend any calories listening to your lawyer talk trying to explain how what he just said is somehow not true. Because that's what we do to each other. And that's what we've been doing the whole time. I mean, for a long, long time, we've been doing that. I remember the notes of that. Like, I remember noticing how no matter what I suggested we try, everything was a trap. Everything. I remember. I said, well, what if you just stop voting? Because, James, that's what they want you to do. It would be a trap. Then they'll just put their man in. It would be done. I was like, oh, okay. So you have to vote? Yeah, of course. Well, why don't you stop paying taxes? Because, James, that's a trap. Then they'll throw you in jail. Then they'll own all your stuff. So you can't do that. I'm like, oh. It's like, well, why don't you revolt? And they're like, because, James, it's a trap. If we revolted, it would be a trap. If we revolted, they would be mean to us. This police state would turn into a police state if that happened. You don't want this police state to suddenly become a police state, do you? Because if so, that'd be your fault, James. It's like, well, what if you stop using their currency? Like, what if you start using Bitcoin? Because, James, it's a trap. Duh. How can you not see that? How can you not see that? See this? This is real money. See this dollar right here? This is real. Yeah, man, it's real. Well, what about the truckers? They're the only ones that saw through this whole thing. Because, James, it's a trap. And all of us, if we contributed, if we joined in on that, this police state would suddenly start like police stating us. And things would be bad, and it would be the truckers' fault. So, well, what if you stand up? It's a trap. That's the oldest trick you have. It's the oldest trick we have. And we think it makes us invisible. And maybe we're here to learn how to become invisible. You know? Who am I to say that you are here to learn to be seen? Maybe you're here to learn how to be invisible and you're almost there. Maybe we're almost there. And if we just squeeze our sphincter harder, the police state will go away. Maybe that'll happen, right? Maybe that's the whole purpose of us being here, is learning how to become invisible. But I don't think so. I don't think that's why it happens. I don't. You guys don't think that, do you? Do you? Is James aware of flat Earth? I don't know if I've ever heard him talk about it. Well, that's a wonderful question. I have. I've talked. I feel like I talk about it probably too much. I don't know. Maybe not enough. I don't know. But yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Brent. Yeah, Secrets of Sound is a great show. Yeah. Why did I just say that out loud? It is. It's a great show, though. Yeah, you can catch me another time. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Now I just took the vibe away. See, this is why I need to watch careful when I read chat. I need to be careful in that. Someone else was complaining about the music too, wasn't he? They were like, that music's bad. That was weird. But I don't care. I don't care. good to sweep the room. And, I love classical music too. I love jazz music. I love all kinds of music. And I actually play all kinds of music. And right now you're hearing more pumpy music because I think that's just what's happening in the plasma right now. And I'm just noticing that I'm finding a lot of music naturally. I picked out these songs earlier today in the show, and I spent most of the day kind of just listening to different stuff. And uh, I noticed that that's just what happens. The rhythm of the ether speaks to you. And so I'm trying to artistically show you the weather right now. And yeah, so I just want you to know that really is what more dictates the mood. Um, we do a lot of different stuff here for this gate, but this whole thing's developing, and I appreciate the feedback most of all. That's really what I appreciate the most right now is just feedback about this format and stuff like that. I also do believe that the radio show, if it is something that seems to be working, it will definitely get better as I just need you to trust that. So when you're not showing pictures, it actually opens this whole new world. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but it opens this whole new world. But it also, it's going to sound kind of weird, but it also allows me to disassociate into a character. And when I when I disassociate into a character, I can sort of have fun with that idea. I can compassionate in front of you by going into this character. And I'm just here to tell you that if the camera was on and I knew you guys were watching me, I would my feeling would be I must be more James. I must be more James. But when the microphone is only on, especially when I'm allowed to play songs in between, it allows me to reset the scene and kind of give you a different vector on stuff like that. And I'm only saying this just because I found it just fascinating as I'm thinking about how the format changes, that it really kind of liberates things. But at the same time, I really want to draw something for you guys right now because of that those Sephiroths I just described. But maybe that isn't even. I'll have to scroll up in the comments and even see if that was even worth it. But if you can picture how you would be in a different gear in a car, you could picture that your opponent's assemblage point is going to be in one of these 6 places. And it's the north south, me and I. I'm sorry, top bottom, right? Me and I. North south, thee and we. West east, all and none. And when I say none, I want you to know that they could be an assemblage point of I hate everyone, or I need isolation. That's a very valuable medicine. In a world of perturbations, you being able to isolate yourself is a very, very, very powerful medicine. And so when we're motivated to help none, that is not meaning that you would be evil. That's a whole other different vector, right? It's more of just that other kind of magic. Motivation to none versus motivation to all. Neither of those are actually motivation to we or motivation to thee. And neither of those are motivation to I or motivation to me. And that is what you would call a vector, by the way. A vector is 3 coordinates, and a coordinate has an x and a y. So there's 3 sets of x, y, and that is the axis of your assemblage point. And you would be somewhere between I and me. You would be somewhere between we and thee. You would be somewhere between all and none. And those 3 somewheres would form a vector in space. And that vector, it would form a point in space. And that point, with a line drawn from that point into your center, that is your vector. that is your vectored will. It's probably not your will, that's your vectored assemblage point. That's where you are aiming your dish, so to speak. And a good person is going to fluctuate, is going to be able to notice these things and move these points as they're talking to you. In fact, that's what regulating is, isn't it? When you're having a conversation with someone, you can't help but regulate with them. So by regulating, really, you guys are looking at each other's assemblage points. And you're doing that by passing the vector back to each other. Well, I'm at this vector. And how do we describe this vector? We describe why we feel this is important. That what that does is it allows us to draw their vector for them. And we can see where they're coming from. If you consider this vector analogy, if it helps at all, if you guys use the mind palace thing, you can use that for your emotions. When you compassionate someone, you're storing an architecture inside your body, and you can recall that architecture much clearer if you claim your mind palace. And you go in and you just start building it. And you can change it if you want. You'll notice that your mind palace is really easy to expand, so you never really have to change things. That you walk in and the first thing you do is you describe the room. It's a checkerboard Masonic floor. Solid marble. There are columns on either side that stretch up to a ceiling that you cannot see. Vaulted above are these lights, these windows. And just this immense white light is pouring down. And there's this chalky mist in the entire room. And it's so long, you're not even sure if it ends. And the first thing you do is you lay a carpet down. And that's you when you were 3 years old. And the memories that you remember from being 3, the toys you remember, the stuffed animals, all the things you place there. And the moment you place them, you're recording those in the record book. And the next time you remember, you do more than just remember those memories. You can actually picture this place in this mind palace right now. So that's if you don't know about mind palace. But you could take that to a whole nother level. A whole nother level. Because when you compassionate someone, you can do the same thing. You could store the position of their gears with that memory from the face. Because when you connect to someone's face, you know this, when you connect to someone's face, you are connecting to their adrenals. So most of the memories that you have when it comes to other people really are their adrenals. You know what it feels like to have their adrenals or to have the tension of their adrenals at that moment. And you get that by watching their face. It happens with the voice too. The way I'm speaking to you is giving you an indication of my adrenals. All of these signals are being transmitted. You and I are the only ones that are making this hallucination that this is happening through voice. That you've become so powerful at teleempathy, and so have I. But because of fucking Billy over here, who gets freaked out when he finds out that he has teleempathy, we created this. We built this in our mind palace, each of us at the same time, so it wouldn't freak anyone out. And now we can connect, and none of us have to say, demons, demons. It was the demons did it, because now it's daemons. It's Linux daemons doing this. And that's more sanitary. So we can deal with that. And they all travel through the silver in your computer anyway. It's so clever how much we've lied to ourselves. convincing us that none of this is magic, right? It's like so freaking obvious. Look at how much time and effort we had to waste to make us think that this is the way it works. It's kind of funny, really. I was thinking, Mr. Graham Greenwood, I was actually thinking that maybe once a week I could do like a video show. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I do think that if the radio thing is allowed to evolve, probably some cool, weird stuff will come out that I wasn't expecting because I didn't know I could disassociate that much. I'm really looking at this word dissociate a lot lately. If you read my books, it's very much like, oh, disassociated. But there's a lot more to this art. And just like when you start to discover truths, maybe the first time you see it, you're really tense about it. And then maybe after you look at it a while, it becomes more comfortable. As I said, all of us, this is how all of us work. We all we all have these things that we're trying to learn. So I'm gonna prep a video. You're listening. That's right, that's all. Period. You're listening. You probably didn't know that, did you? Well, now you do. Can't say that the earth is flat because I'm telling you that consciousness itself is rendered in the eyeballs, and so I don't even know what the earth is. But it certainly isn't a ball. Additionally, it's conscious. A lot of flat earthers are Zionists and they don't know it. Okay, I'll clean that up. A lot of flat earthers are theists and they don't know it. You know what theist means, right? It's the belief in one God, but more importantly, it believes in one God that is disassociated from the world, that lives outside of this world, because this world's dirty and profane. It's not him. And I think that's where flat earthers have it wrong. And it's so wrong that they're brutal to each other about it. They brutalize and cannibalize each other over things like Lucifer sometimes. Not all the time, but it's their struggle, it's their vitriol. And so it ends up being a cult of theism more than it is a cult of zetetics. See, I like the word cult. Cult is the root of culture. Cult is the cult is the seasoning of witness. It's that gathering of that force. And tribe and cult are as dangerous as they are liberating. Just like everything else in the world. That's why you're a tribe of one. The people that are in this tribe are in a tribe of one. Understand? That's the tribe. That's the trick. That's the whole secret initiation. Is that everyone who's in this tribe is, yeah, they're in a tribe of one. It's the magic is I am one of 19, by the way. And I stomped 19 times because I knew 19 giants would come. And it happened. It happened. You guys are here. So yeah, the whole thing's magic. The whole damn thing. And the Oracle of Delphi is inside you is so right on. Right? That Pythia, the blockchain, that in order for you to believe that there's a blockchain inside you, do you remember Billy? Remember Billy's the one that's like, oh, I don't like being magic, so if all of you guys are going to say you're magic, I'm going to report you. My dilation's going to freak out, and I'm not going to be able to survive in this world. So all of us are like, okay, Billy, there's no such thing as magic. There's no such thing as magic. He's like, really? I was like, no, Billy, but we're going to lie to you but we have an idea. Here's a soup can. We tie this string to it. All right? I want you to go over there behind that tree. All right, Billy. I'm going to talk in the can.
Can you hear me, Billy?
Oh, yeah, I can hear that. That's amazing. That's amazing. And so he used to think magic was amazing, but it was too amazing, right? Before the tin can, he was like, holy fuck, that's amazing. Turn it off, turn it off. But when you put it through a tin can, and you tie a string to it, and you make him go behind a tree, suddenly he can swallow the amazing, can't he? He can swallow it. That's what we're doing here. I didn't mean to just throw you on the bus there, but that's what we're doing here. That you and me, all of this stuff, you and I have the skill of alchemizing the idea of relaxing the aperture. I don't think that you would be watching me if you didn't agree with that, because we just talk about it so much. I'm sorry, but we do. And so I think you've caught on that there's this collective idea going around that if we can not, the only way that we can show people truth is to show it to them in the most relaxed way possible. And that doesn't mean lying about it, right? Because that wouldn't be relaxed. That would make them trust even less. But to show them that their worst possible fears are actually not possible inside this aperture. And so we go into the merry pranksters. We go into the Oracle of Delphi. We go into Medusa. We go into witch burnings. We go into how all the Masonic revelations are like spot on and like really helpful. We go on to how even the dialectic, right? Hegel's dialectic, that even that is actually a pretty fucking valuable philosophical instrument that's been used to put out some pretty amazing truths for a long time. And that all these things that were deemed evil before are precisely why it's harder for these people to climb under the fence and run for the trees. They can't run for the trees because they're hearing these stories come back about how these evil vampiric skull fucking Luciferians are running, and they're just like, well, fuck, why do I want to go out in the woods with them? Why? And what was that? Suddenly, They look in the trees and they see someone with a clown nose on. They see this weird forest creature running on stilts, on bouncy stilts. He's got a clown nose on and his ass is hanging out. And suddenly that jungle doesn't become a place of fear, it becomes a place of wonder. It becomes a place of, holy shit, this jungle's scary, but man, there's some really amazing things here. What was that? So it went from, what was that? To, what was that? Right? Same words. What was that? Versus, what was that? And you've been in that jungle and you opened your eyes. Thank goodness. You opened your eyes. We both did. And we found each other. That goes back to the queen because we are no longer feeding the hive. I want you to understand that the queen didn't say, I am the queen now. You will start giving me your honey. That's not what happened at all. That what we did is say, we don't want this honey. Who do we give it to? And the person who took it was the person that wanted it the most. That was it. And it turned out to be the queen. And what did people do? What did people do? They worshipped her. Just like a hive. They worshipped her. And when she died, they were like, it's okay, we found your babies. And we made them the new queen. And then we found their babies and we made them the new queen. The whole time we were just like, oh God, this queen's just horrible. Quick, throw more money at her. Throw more money at her. The entire world did. So the entire world was in need of that vessel. And I know that's hard to believe. But do you understand how much harder it is to really believe that she was able to fool every single other person in the world? Can't you see how reductionary it is to say that about yourself? To say that about your ancestors even? Because if you could look back, like we talked about last night, if you could look back at your ancestors and have that three-step healing process, right? That you would find really easy why they needed a queen. You see it right now. You see it right now in the comments saying, thank you, Ottawa police officers. And then 2 days later, they're on Twitter saying, this fucking cop won't let me out of my house. And I was never even a protester, but they said that my name matched another name. And so now I'm a domestic insurgent on a list. And I'm double vaxxed and boosted. Like that actually happened. We're still seeing that happen now. That I don't want this honey. We're still seeing that. And seeing that is actually more relaxed. Seeing that is not the, what was that? It was the, what was that? It was the, because all of a sudden you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, I gave them the honey? It's like, yes. Yes, ancestor. Yes. Yes. And that's the heart of God Save the Queen. God Save the Queen is Man Bear Pig saying, we want a teat, right? We must suckle at a teat. It's very, very important for early man. God Save the Queen is God save the pack. It's the same thing. Those nipples are more important than freedom. And that's why they throw gold at her. They throw gold at her so they can tell everyone that she oppressed them. And then it caramelized into love. And an entire nation of cucks loves the queen. And they can't help it. And you know what? Good for them. We've all been bred with these kind of weird fetish crap when it comes to all kinds of different stuff. You know, it's not really fair to say, well, it's just them. Look at what Canada does. Holy shit. You've even seen the laws in Canada are just horrible. They've been that way a while. I mean, a long time. So no one's immune. You know, and oh, here we are, America. Mr. We got a Bill of Rights, man. It's better than everything. And our First Amendment isn't the same as Canada's First Amendment because our First Amendment is freedom of speech. Canada, that ain't their First Amendment. You know why? Because America's the only one that really, really, really believes that. Meanwhile, Article 1, in the exact same article, Section 9, Clause B, as in Queen B, that none of this stuff means anything. Anything at all. If there's a threat to public safety. That's the teat. And that is every single lawyer who you've ever been told to celebrate as the most brilliant legal mind ever to be born. And not one of them saw it. And that was not a psyop. Don't you dare say that, well, that's because they were all controlled. No. It's because they're all man bear pig. And they need a queen. It's a bar. And we don't want to admit that. And that's what the pushback was today. And to prove it, Biden is giving out crack pipes. You know this, I'm sure, but Biden is giving out crack pipes. And that is really safe and effective healthcare. I'm going to see if you can hear this.
So every Tuesday and Friday in Hollywood, they have a Catholic church that gives this stuff out. This is what we living at, y'all, and this is what the government's doing. Joe Biden said he spent $60 million on paraphernalia for drugs, and this is what it looks like. It says being alive. This is a meth pipe. Yep. Right here with this bubble thing. I guess you put the meth in there. Mm-hmm. This is a crack pipe. Yep. Okay. These are all instructions on how to overdose treatment and education. This is the needle in here. I'm not going to open this. I'm scared.
That's for heroin?
Yes, for heroin. It has the alcohol pass.
That's a real
and stuff.
needle?
It's a needle in there.
Oh my God.
And these things are like a black and mild filter that you put on the crack pipe so you don't think no one's saliva, so you don't get sick, and you can do your drugs. And so this is
so they like it. So they like, if you're gonna do drugs, we're gonna give it to you so that you can do it the proper way without getting sick.
Because we're not stopping it. We're not going to stop it.
Exactly.
This is letting you.
Yeah. You guys probably heard that. And that's universal healthcare. That's exactly what universal healthcare looks like. Not only that, that's what safe and effective universal healthcare looks like. It's right there. Is crack pipes from the government. And the government feels great. You do realize that the public health dude from Pennsylvania, his claim to fame was developing a drug that allowed addicts to be addicts longer. I'm not even going to go into that now, but it's pretty ridiculous. That same dude mutilated his genitals in public to get the position. That same person, the public health director of Philadelphia, mutilated his genitals publicly to get the position at the national level. Did everyone hear that accusation? Is that clear? Because that's what happened. He ritually mutilated his genitals in public, publicly doing that, exposing that, telling people that, presenting the doctor of that. And in exchange for him mutilating his genitals, he was given the position that he has now on the federal level, working directly with Voynich, the Murdoch, the other Surgeon General. You know, the one that all the vaccine insureds said this space intentionally left blank. The one that declared a war on public health information. That's not a misquote. Actually declared a war on public health information. I would show you a video of that, but that video has been banned. Actually, wait, that one I think is back on. You get it, though. This safe and effective universal health care is what eugenics looks like. It's eugenics with a marketing department. And it's so obvious. And the reason why people cannot see it is because they think it's scary. And the reason why they think it's scary is because there's all these fuckers out here with us in the trees telling them stories about Pizzagate skull fucking blah, 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 right? That's what they're being told. And so no one wants to climb under the fence and leave. Everyone's like, I'm just going to go back inside. That's fine. And they do. And so you have to show them, you really have to show them that this predator is very predictable. This predator has literally said, I'm going to kill you guys, but I'm going to start with the ones who can't afford organic food. Yep. And I'm going to start with the ones that can't get themselves off soda pop. And bread, and sugar. I'm going to get them first. And anyone that can feed themselves without that, you can afford organic food, and if you can buy or create your own fresh produce, if you can trade or grow your own stock, all that stuff, right? And well, if you can do that, then you get to survive. If you can be smart enough to get out of fiat currency, you can survive. You can be smart enough to get out of healthcare insurance, you can survive. So it's a threshing. It's a constant threshing. And it very clearly has the bar. The bar is so easily set. This is not Predator in a bell tower, like hunting down specific members in town and waiting for them to emerge and taking them out, right? That's not what's happening at all. It really is more akin to a giant automated wood chipper is rolled around the city, and there's a speaker, there's a clown, and there's a speaker, and he's saying, bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. And on the other side is another clown saying, safe and effective, safe and effective. And those two clowns are just going like at 7 miles an hour, like an ice cream truck. And it's the most obvious thing you can see. And at night they have the ground effects lights. They have the rolling ground effects lights underneath it. Looks really good. Really sticks out. Giant guillotine on the back door, right? Sticks up out of the back. Looks like a spoiler. That's the top of the guillotine. Predator is so easily predictable that if these people knew that, it would be so much easier for them to crawl through that fence. That's why you needed to go to Ottawa. Do you realize that the Great Awakening would require some sort of an alarm? that in order for you to awaken, it would be quite natural that you might hear some sort of a sound, some sort of a kind of annoying sound, and that would really be what would symbolize an awakening. And if it was a great awakening, it would be that sound, but like really loud, really megaphied, and like really repeated everywhere. And so, of course, the trucker psyop is orchestrated. And it's the most beautiful symphony you have ever seen. And it is playing on the backs of this gigantic, monolithic thing that was coming up regardless. And we will blame the decorators. We will blame the ones that are trying to ride the surf. It is as if the surfers themselves are to blame for the tsunami. We're blaming them because those are the ones that know how to profit, to get into flow state, to enjoy this monumental truth. And to call you to the shore, they wanted a ritual to let you know. And that ritual, a great awakening, if these people that have a longer history than you or I knew that there was a solar clock that was transitioning and shifting, then they would know when this event would happen, and they would even call it the Great Awakening. And they would plan for hundreds of years. What are we going to do for the Great Awakening? Well, I would like our family to blah, blah, blah. And this other group, the Bohemian Grove group, they want to blah, blah, blah. And that all of these people were planning this kind of Burning Man ritual. And that it's very much more of a carnival mindset than it is a let's enslave mindset. Now, if you were to go to the carnival and you were going with the sphincter of everyone's trying to enslave me, you would have a horrible time in that. And you would be like, everyone's hiding their face and everything's about money and everything's about this and everyone wants you to spin around and make you dizzy and they want to take gravity away and they're trying to hypnotize you with the blinking lights and the ring toss is purposely harder than you think it should be, but then they change the bottles when the girls come to make it easier just to make you feel worse and blah, blah, blah. And then the spinning thing behind it has this bad odor that smells like they need to take out some kind of trash, and I don't know if I should have bought that cookie. And the whole thing is like a completely fucking different experience because your sphincter was in this different transmission. But this Aquarius is going to require some massive, massive chicanery. And that we are the frequency pranksters. We've been this way this whole time. What do you think these memes are? These memes are a quilt, are they not? They have their AIDS quilt, and we have this whole thing. The memes are like the crystals on the greenest bud you've ever seen. And they come from us. That's our pollen. It's amazing. And you know what secreted it? All of this. This great awakening. And the more crack pipes that Biden gives away, the more people are going to be looking at the idea of climbing underneath this fence and running for the woods. And you and I can show them how to hold their sphincter. That's right. We can do that. I have a dream. Posture is everything when it comes to understanding this world. Everything. It's a beautiful jungle. Of course it's scary. That's what makes it so beautiful. Try not to forget that success is never the absence of pain. And there's a lot of people out there right now defining success as what would give us the highest yield for an absence of pain. And that's never, ever what success looks like. The Great Awakening is the sound of consciousness opening. And it's supposed to hurt. We are holding our sphincter like our consciousness. And there are people out there that have it much more tense. And the corona, the thank you for your service, the take this shot, the your carbon footprint showing, the everyone's racist, the all of it, right? The free crack pipes. All of these things are necessary to secrete your awakening. It was so comfortable being asleep. It had to get really hard. It had to get butt hard. Just like, fuck. It had to get insane. It took 72 vaccines. 72. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. And now, you know what else it needs? It needs the sound of 1,000 truck horns. Just fucking blaring. It's exactly what it needs. Of course it's a psyop. Look at the jungle. You don't think there's a golden panther in there walking around? Like some badass? He probably shits gold. He probably does. The clink. Holy shit. He's like, I know, right? You have no idea what's in this jungle. Why are you convinced all of it's bad? Why are you doing that? You don't think there's a fucking temple in there? That when you climb on top of it, there's like this blowjob bush or something? You know, whatever it is you want, right? You don't think that's in the jungle too? You don't think somewhere in the jungle you're riding the back of a tiger? You don't think you're swinging through the vines like Tarzan? Why do you not see that? But we see all this other stuff. And it's because we have this thing about being still. About nobody move. Don't move. And you know what's going to make a move when you're there? After 72 vaccines in the ass? A bunch of fucking horns. A bunch of horns. You know there's horns in Revelation, right? Has anyone thought of this yet? All the horns in Revelation? You know, taking this thought of inaction to its extreme would make you think that the sun is a psyop. Why? Because it was planned. That's how far you go. That you would petrify yourself. You would turn to stone. And then you'd, let's go blame it on Medusa. Yeah, because she's a Gorgon. And she's like good with owls. Let's blame her. This chick knew too much. And we're always looking for excuses. No one fucking posts on Twitter. Yeah, well, I'm a coward. I don't want to do anything. And I've heard people say, well, the people who... Anyway. It wakes me up, obviously. And I'm glad. I'm glad that it makes me play rap music and and talk about hymens and sphincters, because it's necessary to understand what's going on. None of us have to know, but the Great Awakening started in 2012. And that was a long time ago. A lot's happened. A lot's happened. Did you guys know that 322 plus 11 is 333? That if you add 2 towers to 322, you have 333. You guys probably knew that. The more people can trust the jungle, not even trust really, the more people cannot be so freaked out about the jungle, man, the sooner they'll get here. And this place will be rocking then. It'll be rocking. I'm going to look for some comments. Don't play that music. Don't play that music. I'm trying to sleep. Don't you wake me up. I don't want to hear your horn. It's coming. It's been here. Shit. Great Awakening. I don't want to wake up. I just want to sleep. I think we should sit here, cause everything is a psyop. I don't want to wake up. I just want to sleep. Turn off those horns. Want to go back to sleep. Nice. a jungle. It's a jungle. It's a jungle. It's your 300th episode. Episodic, wadic, podic. Episodic, wadic, podic. Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a great awakening. You're just going to have to get up. It's just the way it goes. That's just how it goes. When I was in boot camp, I arrived in San Diego 3 in the morning, something like that. Arrived, got on a bus, got to the barracks, got out of the barracks, was given a jumpsuit. It was pretty rad. It's looking pretty cool. Still had my hair. As soon as I got off the bus, they're like, okay, open your bags, put all your food in this trash can, put all your cigarettes in this trash can, put all your magazines in this trash can. And that was the bounty. And what happened is that when you enlisted, as kind of a initiation ceremony, the recruiter would tell you, hey man, you need to bring magazines, candy, and whatever else I said, and because you're not going to be able to go to the store while you're in boot camp. And so the moment you get off the bus, you're just like instantly robbed, and so you instantly shed your like trust field, right? Because you're right away just like, well, wait a minute. I actually didn't. I think I might have had cigarettes. Actually, I knew I was quitting. I don't even know if I had anything, but I just noticed these trash cans. Anyway, I was in a jumpsuit. I still had my hair. I felt so weird because I still had my hair. They made me wait like 3 days. That's how powerful that force can be to a young mind. When you find that you're there and there's no coming out, you start to emerge. You start to emerge. And it would emerge with the crashing of trash cans every morning. It was a great awakening every morning at 4 or 4:30 or whatever it was. It was always a obnoxious, loud, ridiculous awakening. And it made me bloom. It actually made me bloom. And if I would have known what happened to me before I went, I would not have gone. And if I had to do it again, I would hope that I would have made the same choice to go. It's exactly in between, because success is not the absence of pain, ladies and gentlemen. And the Great Awakening is the sound of consciousness blooming. And if anything, the horns help because they pull out the feelings that were always there. And personally, I think it's important to encourage anyone making a truck, to see the wizard. And they went to Ottawa and they saw the wizard, and it was violence. And it was met with emptiness. Now it's backward promises. And that's the worst thing that could happen. The best thing could happen would be that it would have gotten worse. And there's people that think, no, that would be the worst thing that happened. But that's exactly the opposite of that is true. It's just true. And I know it's hard. But you don't go to boot camp because it's easy. And no one has to do anything. So you can't even say, well, James, they're making us go to boot camp. That's the thing. No one's making you. You don't have to buy organic food. You don't have to grow your own. You don't have to try and navigate and negotiate employment. You don't have to use the fiat currency. You don't have to have their insurance. But we make it worse for each other as we try and pretend that invisible is a strategy. And here's the thing. Invisible has been a strategy that hasn't worked since the moment someone got a social security number. All of that disappeared when that happened. You know that. We all know that. Let's see. What kind of comments do we have? Great stream on Sataloons. Thank you. Yes. Everything above the Carmen line is top secret, and so we can't even zetetically sense it. And that ties into technology of belief, by the way. But we have 4 minutes. I don't want to open that can. Best pain I've ever felt was labeled cognitive dissonance. Yeah, the pain of even the conspiracies is part of that. The fact that it hurts your head to wrap your head around all the conspiracy theories is really your consent. This is what's so weird. It's your consent that's actually doing that. You're the one that's choosing to feel crazy by it. It's the wrong wording, but you're the one that's choosing to see it. That's what I mean. You're the one that's choosing to see that, and it hurts, and then you're just bitching about it. And hey, I bitch about it too. I'm all for you, but I'm trying to tell you that you actually know deep down part of you really could go back to just not seeing that. I know that sounds impossible, but there is a way. Through enough trauma, through enough neglect, you could probably return your aperture back into that blue pill, right? Is that what they call it? The blue pill, I guess. But you could turn your aperture down there, but you would just have to find a way to lose your electricity over a stable period where you anorexically, downshift into me. So no matter what your other vectors would be, you would downshift it into me from I. That would be another way. And as soon as you do that, you'd start to, everything would start to implode. Your ability to collect energy would also stop. And then if you, after that though, then see the problem is you would just feel defeated. You'd have to find a way then to defeat the feeling that you were even defeated, right? If you could remove the feeling that you even felt defeated, then you're talking. The blue pill would have to be the removal of you feeling like you were defeated. That would be an important part of that. That's a good point, Christy. Seeing it doesn't hurt, it feels good. It hurts that people I am connected to won't see it. That's healthy and accurate. Do I have a Social Security neighbor? That's a good question, Nate. I would say type yours in and see if anyone's here, but no, let's not do that. Yeah, substance abuse is a great way of doing that, right? We have some people ask about hallucinogenics too all the time. But isn't society a giant hallucinogenic because it's losing your ego? All hallucinogenics basically are killing your ego, which allows you to rebuild. So society itself is actually a giant hallucinogenic because it's constantly telling you to lose your ego. It's constantly telling you it's shit, right? Your ego is shit, brah. Ego's bad. You gotta lose it. Oh, you gotta lose it. Yeah, you gotta crap it out, man. You don't want that ego around. Hey, don't be bringing that ego in here. You can park that outside with the rest of the trash, right? That's a giant hallucinogenic trip. And it's self-inflicted. It's an ayahuasca trip, but with psychosis. Systemic psychosis. Systemic hypotropic hallucinogenic. It's like brilliant magic, man. Like seriously. Some of the best magic you've ever seen. That's the hippie magic, right? Yeah, they're mad at you because you're reflecting it, right? And when they look at you, they see the truth, and it's very, very painful. It's rude of you, Christy, to reflect the truth into their eyes. It's the same thing happens when you go to you're outside, and if you're shining something into someone's eyes, like at a golf match or something, same kind of thing. Can we ever describe life without analogy? I don't know if that's a backhanded insult at how many times I use analogies. I'm proud of you, Obedia, if that's the case. Oh. Yeah, there actually is a blue pill. That's funny. There is a blue pill, and it makes you think that your obelisk will rise too, right? It's the golden obelisk. Anyway, it is time for the show to end. I forgot. I want to try and always end these in 2 hours, so I'm going to do that right now. Thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to officially close the show out. I should have picked this out. I hope I picked the right one. Let me see. Thanks for being here for my 300th episode. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Tonight's show is brought to you by a live studio witness, starring Andrew W., Brett Morgan, Graham Greenwood, Andrew B., Earth First Space Later, Rose 777, Thunder Chicken, John Birch, Star Sorcerer Dick B., Thomas Gerard, Annie T., Shitmoth, IMB, Chelsea Chase, Sarcastic Warlock. Alright, I want this beat to play. Yeah. Alright guys, I'm gonna hit stop. No, you hang up.